Being on time is what we'll try and do. Of course, there's not a need for a quorum with regard to our workshop, but we do have an agenda at this time, and hopefully some of the other commissioners will make it along. So this time we do have agenda. We have on the agenda for Mr. Rick Davis with a great update, and also some discussion with regard to the wilderness resolution that's before the board, and then we'll have any other comments the public might like to offer. And then, first of all, Mr. Davis, I'd like to recognize you, sir.
Are we ready?
Yes, we're a little late. 2 minutes late.
I may just delay until the regular commission meeting.
How's that?
I'd like to speak to all five of you guys.
Well, they'll show up, I hope.
Would that be okay? Can I do that?
If we have time, have room to put it on the agenda, we can do that as an amendment to the regular agenda. If you'd like to do that, Mr. Davis.
I would like to do that because I'd
Okay.
like to personally invite everybody to our annual meeting and then give an update to the whole board.
All right, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be talking about that when we open up and get the agenda and have any changes to the agenda, we'll be able to do that. All right, at this time, Mr. Manager, if you would please, we have a resolution that we're looking to entertain to this board tonight with regard to that of wilderness area. We need to have some education with regard to that. From what I've heard, this is what has brought about this resolution. And I know I've already spoken to a few coming into the room here tonight that have some comment with regard to that. And if you'd like to, if you would please start for us, and please be recognized, and we'll be glad to hear you out. I recognize you. I haven't seen you in a while. How are you? Good seeing you. Good seeing you.
All right, well, thank you, Chairman Edwards, and thank you to all who came out today. As many of you are aware, the U.S. Forest Service is currently going through their plan revision, and we see it necessary, obviously, as a county to be involved in that plan revision. And the local meeting was held 2 weeks ago Thursday, and in that meeting there was a discussion on wilderness and perhaps some proposals that could be laid out in regards to future wilderness within Graham County, nothing definite or anything like that. I haven't talked to the Forest Service. They don't have anything that they're actually proposing wilderness in Graham County right now. And I think that it is necessary, after having some discussion with Brent and David and some others, to make sure that everyone is aware of that we don't want any misconceptions to be out there. We're not going into this with a sense of urgency to where we don't want there to be any misrepresentation to the board or the county or anything like that in regards to what wilderness is. In Graham County, we find ourselves in a position where there's almost 26,000 acres that are either designated as wilderness or in a wilderness study area. In Graham County, roughly 64% of the property is owned by the U.S. Forest Service. And we, from the standpoint of the County Manager's Office and the revenue and looking at the timber sales, in some cases, access to these properties and public safety reasons, other things like that, we felt it necessary to bring before the Board of Commissioners a resolution requesting that there not be any additional wilderness designations in Graham County. Along with that, maybe one of you all, whenever you decide to stand up and comment, can discuss the wilderness study area, which is what the Snowbird area portion of that wilderness designation is. And because within Graham County, the 17,000 plus acres that is in the Joyce Kilmer Slip Rock area is a substantial amount of property. This resolution, as presented to the Board of Commissioners, is to allow our legislator, our congressman representation to know that it is not our desire to have future designation of wilderness in Graham County. And calls into question the Snowbird wilderness study area designation as it stands right now, which was passed in 1984 along with the other Joyce Kilmer Slick Rock designation. I present that to the board as a resolution, and we will be happy to handle any questions or any comments that may arise from that.
Is there There was a sign-in sheet, I don't know if that was for the actual meeting, because David was ahead of me to speak. I don't know if that's how y'all wanted to do it. I'll be happy to make any comments if David wants.
Yeah, I'd like to make a few comments.
Yes, go ahead. I'd like to introduce David Wood. He's now chair of the Board of Commissioners over in Cherokee County, so
And that's-
be good to him.
Yeah, that's not why I'm here.
I know that.
I have my name's David Wood, and I have an outdoor company. It's Woods Outdoor Adventures, and I take people fly fishing, and it's come along pretty good. It's growing more and more, and I'm real familiar with the tourist industry. And there's a lot of money out there. Like the delayed harvest brings in about $2.3 million a year into the local economy, and those are fly fishermen come. They hire guides like me, and they come and they buy stuff at your stores, and they buy gas and stay in motels and stuff, and they camp out, you know, and it's a pretty cool way to make a living, you know. But I'm concerned about this resolution because of the part about Fire Creek where it says the Snowbird area is currently designated as a wilderness study area, be removed from consideration of a wilderness designation. And one of the reasons I'm concerned with that is because as long as it's in a wilderness study area, it's pretty much not going to be logged. And if y'all are familiar with the Snowbird watershed, it's just seething with water. I mean, there's lots of water in there. And the spring heads, it's just great trout fishing, some of the best in the eastern United States. I'd say between it and Santilla Creek, that's probably the two best trout streams and really in the eastern United States. And if it was to be taken off of this list of a wilderness study, then I'm afraid if some logging operation come in there and started logging, it would hurt the aesthetic value of the stream itself. And that's what brings a lot of people trout fishing. They come, they want to get in the wilderness, they want to get in a setting where they want to get away from everything. They want to, get away from town. They want to get away from man-made stuff, and they want to get out there and trout fish and just to commune with nature, And so that's what really brings them here. So if this particular place, if it was to be damaged or be logged, and it's like it just changes it. It changes it totally. It changes it. It hurts the fish, and I'm concerned with this being on there, and because it is a great asset, and it brings people to come to Grant County and spend their money. I come to Grant County all the time. I come up here and I trout fish. I come up here, I go hunt. And it's just a wonderful place to be, I think. And I wish we had more trout streams like Big Snowbird Creek in Cherokee County. And so I'm kind of against the resolution here because there is specific places to where a wilderness is a good thing. We've got some wilderness like Standing Indian. It's just, it's a place that's just a great place to hike, and people just come from all over. That campground up at Standing Indian, I don't know if y'all been up there much. Go up there during the leaf looking season. When these leaves turn color, you can't get a camping spot. Nowhere. And that's real industry. And it looks like this resolution is just specifically targeting logging. Like, we need to cut more trees. And that's fine with me. I'm working with the Forest Service plan, and we've got a collaborative that we meet. And we've got timber cutters, we've got horseback riders, mountain bike people, backpackers, trout fishermen, and we all get together and we have these a meeting, and we're coming up with a plan to kind of give the Forest Service our idea of this collaborative. And it's a work in progress right now, and it's a plan for the next 30-year Forest Service plan. And we were working on places where they are roads and to do more forestry, because if you don't do forestry, the trees just don't grow fast. I mean, you got to thin them out. You can burn places. Forestry is the key in timber harvesting, and I don't think that just designated specifically the Snowbird Wilderness Area or the Snowbird Wilderness Study Area. I think it should be kept as a wilderness study area because it's it helps protect the resource that we have, and that creates jobs, literally. I mean, that trout stream creates a lot of jobs. There's a lot of people that go up there and pay people like me money to take them fishing. And like I said, they come here, they stay. Every time I come to Graham County, I eat here, you know. I eat one of these restaurants, you know, and I end up shopping at the grocery store, you know, and buying gasoline. And it's really, tourism is an economic engine, you know, and y'all probably see it during the summertime with all the motorcycles riding up and down the road, you know, and people with kayaks on top of their cars and stuff, you know. But the trout fisherman's aspect, you really don't see that much. And I just feel like, you know, keeping it in a study area, I mean, there's no plan to turn it into a wilderness area right now. You can camp there, you can hike there, you can hunt, fish, you know, and it's just, and the quality of, because there's so much water in there, it's just really not a good idea to log in there. You know what I'm saying? It's just, the best places to log are, you know, places there's not a lot of water, like on ridges and areas that you can, you know, the timber grows better and stuff like that. But the quality of timber in there is not really, you know, it's not like an oak forest, or there's not a lot of big white pines, you know, that you would normally see. You have a lot of, you know, basswood and different forest products that are really not that high quality anyway. And so I would request that the commissioners either remove this from your resolution or just don't vote on the resolution, because we're working on a Forest Service plan, and we've invited the county manager to go, and I think it's very important that he shows up. And because if we all get together and work as a team, we can have a better forest, and we can make, you know, we can create jobs. We can trade in holding land for forest land around town that's be more suitable for y'all's use, you know. And it's just management is what we need. We need better management, and we need to all work together to make a better forest. And I don't really feel like the resolution is really the way to go. So I thank you for your time.
David, I have a few comments and questions, if I could. I respect David very much. We have a good history over the last several years. The issues of conservation and knowing the outside and everything else, I know that you look for a balance. There has to be a balance. So that's the person that's standing before this board this evening. One of the things that I have a concern about is the issue too of the restrictions if it does. You know, this is a beginning phase of saying, well, you know, we're going to study this to be a wilderness area. Well, you know how it is in western North Carolina. You start talking about the issues of wilderness area. And I can remember some history some years back about, you know, convoys of logging trucks headed to Asheville and the whole history that's involved in that. But one of the concerns we have about it is just the issue of being able to have control of land. And one of the things in trying to understand this more clearly, I do actually do some homework on these things. And this afternoon I was sharing with Joe Bonnet. There's a tract of land up there now, and I'd have to look at a map to find out exactly where that is. But it's the King Meadow. Some of you are familiar with the King Meadow. 755 acres of land is on the market for $3.5 million. It's about a giveaway. And one thing that worries me about that is the issue of watching that and seeing who's going to buy it, and then what happens after it's bought. I know there's no control in that. It's a free market. Man's got $3.5 million, then he can go buy the property. But the issue in this too is, and I respect the watershed, and I know Ms. Moore's here, and I hope you have some words for us too with regard to watershed, because that is an important issue. But you know, to go and to look at this and to say, well, they're going to have a study area, and my interest in that is the study area going to be on that 755 acres?
No, that not at all, because
Okay.
755 acres.
If somebody here can give me the broad view of where this property is located, specifically.
We've got it.
Yeah, it's
All right,
it's
very
right
good.
there. It's adjacent to the.
Would you introduce yourself? I do not
Yes,
know you.
sir. Yeah, I'm Brent Martin. I work for the Wilderness Society. Our office is in Sylvan, North Carolina,
Okay.
and I live in Macon County, North Carolina. But the Kings Meadow tract, one of those big tracts up there, what I understand was recently actually bought. It was a 600-something acre tract that a guy purchased up there that's been on the market. Maybe the same one. That's switched hands. You know, what I think is the Kings Meadow tract is the tract right there next to Hoover Ball.
Yeah.
Where the old, where that hunt was back, years ago. So that would not be attached to this at all. The Snowbird Wilderness Study Area today is exactly what it was in 1984 when Congress designated it as a wilderness study area. It's 9,000 acres, and it's an congressional designation. So, like David was saying, this forest plan, no matter what happens in this forest plan, it's not going to change because Congress did that, and Congress has got to be what undoes it. So, I could keep talking a little bit more about it if you want me to.
Yeah, I would like that. Dave, you got any more? You got any more to say? I mean, I don't want to cut you short.
No, I just would, like to say that these private properties are nowhere in the Forest Service has no control. It's totally free market. And from what I've seen, when they get sold, people develop them. I mean, it's private. The Forest Service has no desire to manipulate private properties whatsoever. And you can camp, you can hunt, you can fish, you can use the forest. And there's places I'm for logs. Hey, I'm a pretty good timber faller. I like to cut trees. And it's a good job. And I'm for good management is what I'm looking for. And I just think this specific part that there is places we do need wilderness, but and we got wilderness and it's good. But this snowbird study area is just very. I think the best use for it is tourism because it's really just crawling people all the time. So, thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, David. Any of the commissioners have other questions or anything for him?
The only thing I've got is, I'm a member of the rescue squad, and if it gets turned into a wilderness ever, it makes our job hard. We can't take nothing in there to get nobody out.
That, sir, I don't mean to disagree with you disrespectfully at all, but if there is a person hurt in wilderness, I've been doing this work for 20 years now.
I've been doing it for 25.
And I've seen plenty of accidents in wilderness, I've seen plenty of helicopters, and I've seen plenty of ATVs going to get those people out. So, yes, it takes.
Slick Rock?
I'm not talking about Slick Rock, but I've seen it happen in other wilderness, I've seen it happen in Shining Rock Wilderness. So all it takes is a call to the Forest Service makes a call to the region, and it's a pretty quick call. Generally, they get back to you really fast on that because it's an emergency, it's a matter of public safety. So if there is an accident in wilderness, that is a very quick phone call to the regional office. And to my knowledge, I've never seen them say, no, you can't use a mechanized vehicle or whatever to get in to get anyone out of there. So,
We've been questioned a few times.
okay. That may be, I'm not doubting the loss. But just a couple of points I wanted to follow up with that David said. Mainly is that this partnership, because of the forest planning process right now that we are trying to form, that it's not about wilderness, it's about all the user groups on this forest. Timber, as David said, the hunting community, fishing community, the horseback riders, the mountain bikers, the economic development folks, all of us have an interest in this forest plan. So we want this group that's come together to develop our alternative for this forest planning process that says, well, yeah, we can support wilderness over here, and we can also support logging over here. And if the wilderness people, the environmental people, the economic development folks, the timber people can all agree on this. So that when this forest plan is implemented, we're not fighting it out over some timber sale or some project in the forest, because we've already agreed on this before that forest plan is finalized. So that is what we all, the folks here today that are working on this, that are out here in this direction, Callie and David, that's what we want out of this. And, I think what another point David was making is that with this forest plan process, starting now, to have a resolution passed like this early in the game, to be honest with you, I'm afraid it'll hamstring some of us from going forward. I'd like to think Graham County. I think that we've got over 20,000 acres of wilderness here in Graham County, if you include the study area, wilderness study area, and 70,000 plus acres of general national forest land. I totally appreciate Graham County's position on this because I know that economic development is a huge factor here. I'm not opposed to logging on the national forest. I'm not opposed to taking timber off the national forest. I worked for 3 years. I was a manager of retail lumber sales for Atlanta Hardwoods. My mother retired from Dixie Plywood. Her whole life she spent selling plywood and hardwood lumber. So I appreciate the value of the timber industry here. So with 70,000 acres here in Graham County, surely we can figure out a way to get timber off the national forest. We're not asking right now for it. And there's no ask from the Wilderness Society or for this partnership for any more wilderness in Graham County. There's not enough, believe it or not, we've got the Snowbird Wilderness Study Area, which is the one study area that Congress designated in 1984. That also happens to be a federally designated rodent. So.
Say that again, sir, I'm sorry.
It's a federally designated rodent. So that's another law that's in effect right now. The Forest Service is now protecting any land that it considers to be inventoried as rodents. Snowbird Wilderness Study Area is inventoried as a rodents area. That's over the top of that wilderness study area designation. So, I mean, even if Congress right now, say Congressman Meadows, was to go forward and get a bill in Congress to actually strip out the wilderness study area designation, it would literally take an act of Congress. You all know how difficult anything right now is to get out of Congress. If they even were to take that area out of wilderness study, it would still be a rodents area, and you still would be able to log it. So, you know, I'd like to think, well, that's not going to change. No matter what happens in this forest plan, that area is not going to be logged. It's a 9,000 acre tract of land. Whether I like it or you like it or no one likes it, that's just the law. So to me, the challenge is, how do we get through this forest planning process? We're all friends at the end of it. We can all support more logging in Graham County and wherever else it is that we're all working right now. And we're going to have some protected lands on the national forest coming out of this too. So I'd like to think that we're starting a partnership now that I hope, you know, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, that, you know, Graham County won't need a resolution like this. That we all got past this kind of, you know, disagreement about how public lands are managed. So I would only hope that y'all would table it or reconsider it, just wait, give us all a chance as a partnership to try this. It might not work, you know, it might be the best thing we've ever seen, but it's not, you know, nothing's going to change by passing a resolution right now. I understand you want to make a political statement, so, but I would only ask that you give us a chance with this partnership group that's formed, and let's try to get through this as friends and not on the opposite sides of the table.
Do you think the Forest Service is gonna let logging out there in this area? I don't.
Not Snowbird, I know. But I think that the other forest lands in Graham County that are not wilderness, they came together.
You know, we don't have very much logging on government lands.
No.
I understand. Yeah, and I think that,
I've noticed one track, I think, being logged up around a long time.
yeah,
I thank all those Forest Service.
yeah. And you know, to be honest with you, the Forest Service has had a horrible budget for years. Their budget's cut. Big fires out west, they have no money. It's a constant sucking for discretionary budgets out of the region here. So they don't have enough money to manage for timber, don't have enough money to manage for roads, totally inadequate road budgets, totally inadequate recreation budgets. So, you know, I like to think this partnership can help some of that stuff happen in the future, where we can start to get Congressman Meadows to help us get more money out of the federal budget process, to take care of existing roads, to have a better timber program here on Banana Hill District. I think there's a lot of potential for groups to work together right now. So that's all I would offer, you know, in a way of kind of a you know, a peace offering where we can actually start to go forward with this.
Well, you know, I looked at this, and some years ago, I guess it's about 2 years ago, I had opportunity through the National Association of Counties to actually go to Washington, D.C. and lobby with regard to PILT monies. And right now, with 113,000 acres, more than 113,000 acres in Graham County that have been designated as PILT, that gets us $2.05 an acre,
Okay. Yes.
which leaves us approximately 40-some% of land area for ad valorem taxes. We are wards of the federal government. I had the figures too with regard to, in North Carolina, of the percentages of land, and I know that our neighbor, Swain County, is more involved. The issue is when I was going to do the lobbying and had the opportunity to actually go in and talk with the folks, they didn't want to talk about PILT as a reorganization of the Forest Service. It's a problem. It is a huge problem.
the actual organization, the agency.
The management, land management, the NEPA process. I mean, it was everything. We had to bring them back on topic several times. But nobody wants to take that on. Nobody wants to do that. You know, I hate to call it the sacred cow because I don't know enough about it to say that. But, you know, I understand it too. But when I stop and do the mathematics and just look, if we had the lowest, if we took the lowest land value on the land, you know, some of it's going to be Mountain View property, some of it's going to be lake rock, some of it's going to be, you know, along creeks, and some of it's going to be bottom land, some of it's going to be this, that, and the other. But just taking it at $3,400 an acre assessed value, the county loses $1.7 million a year. And that's before anything or considering, you know, development and everything else. And when you're here trying to sweat bullets just to get a $13 million budget in place to keep ambulances running, you know, it's the whole story. And I'm not going to sit here and whine about it, but that's exactly what's happening with Grand County. And I hear a lot of folks saying, yeah, you're going to make your money in tourism. Yeah, I can see that and understand that. And then it's all connected with the issue of transportation, which we're trying to work on. And then it's the issue of, you know, having forest lands open so that the logging industry could have a chance. And as Commissioner Eller says, I keep looking for it. And you used an important word there, Mr. Martin, that I really wish would happen, is the question of partnership. Usually it's us going and dropping is usually the scenario that I see. And I don't want to be negative about it, but we always have to look at it. We're now looking at the standpoint of the issue of mineral rights. How many places across the United States of America that are in the National Forest Service have rights to mineral rights? And they don't want that here. And they're going to do everything they possibly can to keep that from happening. And, you know, if it's going to be part of the plan and a partnership, and, you know, fracking is an issue, and I've talked to commissioners in the state of North Carolina with regard to that, and I know what's involved in it, and we do need to protect what we have, but we just can't go and keep turning it over. We won't have anything left. And those that they call the kooks and the conspiracy, that's, you know, I don't know that I'm in that category yet, but, you know, it really does seem that it would be better off for everybody in the country if we just kind of just disappeared. 8,700 people have to live here. And, you know, it's got its own history. It has its own needs. And yeah, we want to keep it pristine. We want to protect our water without a shadow of a doubt. But at the same token, we have to have something for the people to do here. You've heard it all before, I'm sure.
I totally get it.
So, you know, the stakes are a lot higher when I sit on my 6.77 acres here in Grand County. And that's where I have to look at it. But, you know, you presented some things, you know, with regard to partnership. And, you know, my next question, Mr. Martin, and I'll be quiet, and the other commissioners, please, is the issue of timelines. You know, how long is this process going to be open? That the Forest Service is going to be receptive to anything that a committee or a group would present to them? I mean, 1984 seems like ages ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, the designation's already been made. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
So, you know, what we would be saying, and, you know, maybe there is another forum or another avenue or venue to be able to talk about this. You know, maybe it is in this group. You know, David presented a good job in it. We don't want to forfeit all of our land either. I mean, it's just it. And I'm still not finished with the 755 acres at the King Manor.
Yeah, I can't answer.
Trying to lie me a little bit, in less than 30 seconds in passing, you know, with regard to the problems that the Forest Service has been having with that, with regard to four-wheelers and crossing over private property to get to Forest Service property, And then Mr. Wood, as he came in, was talking about some kind of consolidation plan to be able to work with the Forest Service to close up and knit together all the properties in one whole instead of spreading it all over creation. So I can see the benefit of having of being a part of this conversation. And but when you're sitting here and you have 61% already tied up, I mean, really,
Yeah, I see that.
and you're living on 39%, just mathematically.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we'd like everybody to come. The only place they'd fish would be Grand County. The only place they would come to visit, but it's not. And
Well, what I'd like, and I hope my colleague Bill Hodge is speaking here too. I mean, yeah, like I said earlier, that snowbird study area is not going away. A lot of tremendous effort on Grant County's part to make that happen. You know, it's just I'd like to think in the last year or so, for 2 solid weeks, we employed 6 Graham County young people here for the workforce reinvestment program. We had kids down here working for a week from out of state, different areas to reconstruct the Upper Snowbird Trail system. I like to think that study area is not going away, that this part of that's not going away. So how could a partnership like this that we're forming right now go forward into the future to help Graham County figure out how to develop the infrastructure around that area to draw in more people into Graham County? I totally agree with you. You're not talking about high wage paying jobs in the tourist industry or anyone necessarily getting rich off of tourism. It does provide jobs. It does provide people coming into the county and spend money in stores, buy gas, everything else. So, to me, a perfect outcome of a forest plan like this for Graham County would be, we come out of it, Snowbird's here, it's not going away. We come out as a partnership. We're able to go to Congress every year as a partnership, a very diverse partnership of people, timber, all those interests I mentioned earlier. And we can go to Congress and say, bring home some of this federal money here that everyone's doling out of there. Bring some back to Graham County. And help us figure out how to get more infrastructure onto the Forest Service lands that we have, so you can have some economic development here, although it's maybe not ideal here. But if you were able to at least start to be able to get some reliable source of timber off the national forest, you could at least have some sustainability of timber community here as well.
Well, let me give you just an idea about some of the situations that have come to this board. You'll have someone with a large timber holding in Present Use Bank, and they have a harvest plan. And they've gone and they've lived up to the agreement with PUB. And then they want to go and cross over 100 feet of Forest Service land to get to their tract. NEPA costs them more to comply with than the harvest results.
Yeah. So there's probably
It's not just one case.
Yeah, there are probably thousands of cases like that. And I think that, there are probably a lot of good reasons to streamline certain aspects of NEPA so that wouldn't happen.
But it is.
But it is happening.
And it's people's,
It's their livelihoods.
it is. Tobacco, I know that's a whole government issue, then logging, I guess moonshine is the best. So you don't have to put that in your notes. You go ahead.
Put it in any questions y'all have.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Martin, I appreciate it. It's been very informative. I appreciate that. Your colleague, sir, would you like to speak?
Sure.
Would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Bill Hodge.
Bill Hodge.
Yes, I'm from across the mountain in Monroe County, Tennessee. I live over Telka Plains. I actually live in Coker Creek, for those of you who know where Coker Creek is.
I know where to tell you.
I have a benefit of being a little more narrow in my focus at the Wilderness Society. I do work for the Wilderness Society. I run a program called Southern Appalachian Wilderness Stewards, for SAWS for short. And our mission at SAWS is to build that next generation of public land stewards out of a younger and more diverse generation. And I'm happy to say that we started and ended our season here in Graham County. The very first crew we did for the year was working on brushing out and logging out the Hale Lee Trail. And the very last crew we had for our season was in Graham County, brushing out and logging out the Deep Creek Trail. In between, we brought over $25,000 in labor hours to the Forest Services in the form of volunteers, college students, crew that we've paid, funded through private grant donations to the organization. As Brent mentioned earlier, we work to start to rehab the trails at the top of Snowbird. I heard you say you're part of the rescue unit. Well, the first person I always ask where do we need to work is always go to Marshall, because they'll tell me where you guys have had rescues and where people are getting turned around or getting lost, or it's hard for the rescue squad to get in there. And so we're trying to go out and make sure that the infrastructure that exists on the national forest, and in our case, specifically on wilderness or wilderness study areas, that those trails are open and accessible so that the public can enjoy the benefits of having public lands in their backyard, so that they can enjoy those health benefits that have in place to go out and recreate, so they can enjoy the benefits of having clean water that comes out of the Snowbird Wilderness Study Area, or comes out of the Joyce-Kilmer Slip Rock Wilderness. In any given year, over 60,000 people visit the Joyce-Kilmer Slip Rock Wilderness. We'd like to see that same kind of economic driver arrive in Snowbird, but until we have a trail system that people know they can rely on and can trust. And that's what we're here to do. And like I said, we've brought in somewhere close to $30,000 in man hours to help restore those trails. I hope you all, would reconsider this resolution in general, specifically the no tangible benefit. There is a public health benefit to having public lands that people can get out and enjoy and recreate on these lands. There is a tangible benefit from having the clean water that flows out of these areas, to having the property value impacts, and having the beautiful county that you have here in Graham County. So I just wanted to say that we don't just want to see these protected. We want to put our money where our mouth is. We're showing up. We're going to continue to show up. We put in for a significant investment in a permanent trail crew for next summer to work on all the trails in Joyce Gilmer Slick Rock so that it can be open and enjoyed, safe, accessible for the search and rescue. So I appreciate the chance to speak. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them for you.
Any questions, comments, John? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rick, I know that one of the committee, Greg, is very much involved in this. Can you kind of give us a breakdown of where they're at? I know David Dodson, I mentioned, is a man that's in that particular group.
David chairs that group.
Right.
And that's with the Recreation, Water Quality, and Natural Resources Committee. And we have a partnership with SAWS and the Wilderness Society that participate in the meetings, as well as U.S. Forest Service and individual citizens of Graham County. And I think the key is partnerships. We've all got to work together to make it work for Graham County.
Rick, I've known you for a long time. I mean, you have a heart for this place, and I hope I do too. But the issue of trust is always a matter. And I so appreciate the great organization, extending out and doing that, because I was sitting here hoping, that it was already happening. Because, to sit on the Board of Commissioners in this county, as any of us on this board, we're trying to do the best to make the most informed decisions that we can. And I hope this board has demonstrated that in the last three years or better. And but when it comes to the issue of this, and it's informative to know that since 1984 that this is already a done deal. And but then too, I have some questions with regard to conservancy. And Ms. Moore, can you speak to that some? I don't want to tag something on you that's not there, but I had an opportunity to meet this young lady about, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And she gave me a primer. I was running for the House against Roger West, which I'll never do again. And she gave me a primer on the basins, about water basins and water quality, and maybe some alternatives to the General Assembly in North Carolina, which helped me out to understand more and more. If you could do that and speak to us with regard to that issue of basins and water quality. Access is another big issue,
Yes.
about being able to use the water.
Absolutely. And so a couple things I'll say, and I did not come tonight to speak one way or the other on this resolution or about whether wilderness should be designated or not. But what I will say a few things. One is just from my basis of water quality and the stream classifications and so forth in Graham County. And then the other thing that I wanted to just speak on behalf of, as David and Brent have already mentioned, is this forest collaborative that's going on as part of this plan revision process. So a couple things. One is that you only have in Graham County basically one watershed that is a whole intact watershed that is designated as high quality waters, and that is Snowbird Creek and its tributaries. So, you have a lot of water in Graham County, you have a lot of streams, and those things are, to your benefit. It's to your benefit to have those clean water areas. And so, as you look around the county and you try to make decisions about how different things are going to be managed, I would just encourage you to consider that when you try to make decisions about whether, levels of protection for Snowbird Creek going forward. It really is probably some of the best that you have left in Graham County in terms of water quality and the trout resources and the cold water fisheries that exist here. I'll be happy to entertain any questions about water quality and watershed protection that you want to have. But the other thing I want to say is that I just want to make sure that you understand that, okay, so back in the 80s, you know, the Forest Service did a plan, and that designated, through that process, it designated the Snowbird watershed as this wilderness study area. So that was done back then, during that planning process. So now, we're just starting, it's not even a year completed yet, with revising that plan. And it's a 3 to 4 year process. So there's still plenty of time to participate and to be involved and to make a decision, not only about wilderness protection or not protection, but all of these things that you're talking about. I mean, you just listed off a laundry list of concerns that you have with the U.S. Forest Service and the way they operate and the way they manage and logging and all of these things. And this management plan is what governs all of that. You know, for Nantahala National Forest, when they revise this plan, it's the plan. Unless it gets appealed, which the 87 plan was appealed, and there were significant amendments made in 1994 to it. But I'm just saying this document is how they operate. If it's in the document, they're going to do it. If it's not in the document, they probably aren't going to be able to do it. And so what goes into that plan is obviously very important. And so this partnership, collaborative that these folks have been talking about, what this is private people. This is not the U.S. Forest Service. They have a whole process that included these open houses, and there's going to be more open houses and more public meetings and opportunities to comment, which I brought with me the email address if any of y'all are interested in it, to comment on the open house stuff so that it can go in the assessment right now. But this partnership thing is a totally separate thing. It's not U.S. Forest Service run. It's private businesses, organizations that are interested and have concerns about the National Forest. And we're meeting about monthly, right now, bi-monthly. Hopefully it'll turn into bi-monthly, but it is in Asheville because, unfortunately, Nantahala National Forest Plan got lumped in with Pisgah National Forest, and so this is, we already have a challenge down here off the bat because Pisgah is like the golden child National Forest, and Nantahala is like the, you know, redheaded stepchild, which I can say that because I'm redheaded. You know, we just get all the crimes down here, and we haven't had the investment in recreational facilities. We haven't had the investment in trails. That's why we have to have volunteer groups maintaining everything. It's not like that over on Pisgah, okay? And so we have to meet in a centralized location because we have to involve everybody because it's all, you know, both forests are being combined together by the U.S. Forest Service. But these people are coming together voluntarily to kind of hash out these concerns that we all have so that we can go with a united front to the Forest Service. And when it comes time for that NEPA process, the whole idea is that our collaborative will basically present the Forest Service with an alternative that will go into that, you know, impact statement, NEPA document, and basically be like, this is what we would like to see the management plan be. And that's going to include recommendations for logging and for everything to do with the management plan. We're going to be taking up in this group. And so again, it's a 3-year process. You know, I mean, you barely miss anything. And I would very much, I can count on one hand the number of local government officials, and there's only one elected official, and you're looking at him here. But the other ones, there's like an economic development director, and there's somebody from one of the regional councils of governments, not ours, but one of the Pisgah ones. And that's it. And so, you know, you're welcome to come and participate, and let's try to work out these issues together so that y'all aren't having to continually go and harass people to try to get Graham County heard. I mean, a lot of your same concerns, even though you have the most percentage of public lands, a lot of your same concerns are shared in Cherokee County and Clay County and Macon County, Swain County, I mean, these other counties down here. And even a couple up in the northeastern part have a high percentage too, and I don't know people up there, but, you know, I'm sure they have similar concerns too. But there are a lot of strategies that various people have come up with, and one of them is one that David talked about tonight, and that is about, you know, encouraging the Forest Service. Again, through the planning process, you can actually dictate in the plan that they are going to come up with a strategy for identifying high priority in holdings to acquire while giving up to the private sector these disjointed lands that are not there for them to manage too. So I mean, that's something that can literally be written into the plan. Hey, Forest Service, you're gonna make this a priority. Somebody in the Forest Service is gonna sit down and identify these in holdings and figure out how to swap them out so that we can get these private lands. You know, that can be put into the plan, just like anything can be put in there. And so, you know, ideas that you have for increasing logging on the areas that are not designated wilderness, I mean, that can be a priority, and that you can literally put stuff in here. In Graham and Cherokee counties, which are unique in this way, this is what we're going to do. Anything is possible. But it's extremely important that, you know, because it is a federal bureaucracy, that you participate in a bureaucratic process in order to make it the best that can be. So that's my
Well, you know, I appreciate your comments, and one of the things too that we always need to realize, and I know I've talked to our county manager and everybody on this team, is that you have to be at the table, and that's one of the things I think that we need to strive at more and more. And you know, I don't like the idea of being adversarial and things, but you know, there is a process in place. There are those kind of timelines. I have one question for Brent that you made a comment about. You can go to Congress. Who do you talk to in Congress?
Your starting point's always going to be your local congressman. So that's where it all would start. And you know, something like a wilderness study area, that'd be a vote in the House of Representatives.
Do you ever end up in the Department of Interior?
That'd be the USDA.
USDA.
Because all Forest Service lands administered.
Right. But do you ever end up in the Department of Interior?
Well, I'm sorry.
Do you ever end up dealing with the Department of Interior?
Yes, sir. Not on any kind of wilderness issues per se, because Park Service, the National Park System does have wilderness areas embedded in it. For example, like Yosemite National Park is 90-something% wilderness, but the park right now, the Great Smokies is not a designated wilderness. So I mean, the one thing we've got involved with the Department of Interior on is trying to help get the North Shore Road settlement made.
Right.
Because I feel like, for me personally, and I feel like for the organization I work for regionally, that was a good faith effort made on behalf of all people involved in that North Shore Road settlement. We have met with Congressman Meadows on it twice now, working with his office to try and get authorizing language to make sure that the North Shore Road settlement does happen. Because as you know, it's being blocked every year just for crazy reasons and has not been able to make it through DOI due to the reason, that it's been treated as an earmark.
Right.
So that's been my primary interaction with DOI out of my job.
All right, good.
Who's the elected officials you were talking about?
I'm Commissioner Wood from Cherokee County.
Mr. David Wood.
I'm here as Woods Outdoor Adventure. I have a company, trout fishing.
How does the others in your group feel? You got 5 now
Yes.
about the wilderness.
We don't have any wilderness in Cherokee County. We really don't have a dog in the fight.
I mean, we asked for your help,
Yeah.
and how does the other folks
Well,
feel?
I personally, I'm against the resolution myself. And the reason I am is because of the economic impact of, I think that the snowbird wilderness study area is good where it's at, and it's a good thing, And, if you was talking, Chairman, about mineral rights, and my grandma comes from a mining town, Copper Hill, Tennessee, and my dad comes from Beckley, West Virginia, and I know quite a bit about mining. And Copper Hill, Tennessee used to look just like this place here, believe it or not. And so I know what can happen when you go to mining and stuff. And that's why I believe something like, a place like Snowbird, that's very rare to have a place like that in the United States. And I, it's dear to my heart. I love the place, and I make money over there, fly fishing, taking people fly fishing, and I can take them hiking, You know, I got 4 service permits, I went through that's a lot of paperwork, I promise you, but, you know, and I just feel like in certain aspects, wilderness is good, but our county is a logging area, and we need more forestry, is what we need some logging done. I mean, the trees grew up real thick down there.
That's the management issue right there.
Absolutely, we need more logging.
Now, you're
I
talking
think-
about Cherokee County?
Yes, Cherokee County needs some logging done, because they need forestry done also. The difference between, you know, logging's harvesting the timber, forestry is growing the timber. And our timber's been just clear cut, and it's just grew up in a big thicket, you know. And I'm for logging in Graham County, because, you know, I used to cut trees for a living, and I think it's a really fun job. I love to cut trees, but logging, but,
You're a different sort of person too,
yeah, thank you.
because I don't see it.
Yeah, but, you know, it's a good job, but there's jobs also, you know, in this wilderness area, that, you know, that we've got, there's wilderness areas that I go on that are good places to be, but, you know, I think pretty
I
much,
mean, who's it gonna benefit?
it benefits the guy in the store down here. You know,
For it to be wilderness?
absolutely, there's
Absolutely not.
thousands of people come to Graham County for tourism.
Let's be realistic now. There ain't thousands of people comes to wilderness.
Well, they come here to ride motorcycles, you've seen those people, haven't you?
Yep, they don't come. Well, you
They come
should,
here, it's the same tourists, you know. Tourists
you
come
still
here.
never did answer my question. How's the other four feel? Has it been brought to the board?
Some of them feel the same way I do, but we haven't brought this up in Cherokee County. We don't have wilderness, sir, in Cherokee County. It's irrelevant to our county.
Okay, as being the chair, I have a responsibility. We only have about 6 minutes. Wayne, did you have some comment?
Yeah,
I'd like to recognize you.
I'm part of Adams Lumber Mills LLC. We're the only active sawmill in this
Can you come to the
county.
mic? I'm old. Come to the mic,
Okay.
I can't hear you.
I'm from Adams Lumber Mills, up on Atoll. We're the only active sawmill in the county. Now, I think I heard 69%, 61% is Forest Service. Okay, we're trying to survive on 39%. And if you take housing and you take little tracts of land here, little tracts of land there, that 39% probably gets cut in half. So now I'm at 20 to 25%, what I'm trying to run a business on here in Graham County. Now, we do have a Forest Service job right now, and we're cutting that out on West Buffalo, and I'm thankful to the good Lord we got that job. But up until that point, 100%, not 95, not 99, 100% of our sawmill was fed by private timber. Now, that's a little bit lopsided if you want my opinion. I don't think we need any more wilderness. I think we've got plenty of good, beautiful land here. We've already got stuff designated in a wilderness. I think that's as far as it needs to go. I will agree with the fact our timber, our property needs to be managed a lot better because it's not anywhere near equal right now. Like I said, we employ 15, 18, 20 people, summers in that area, and right now that's really important to us, keeping our men busy, keeping them on the job, making sure their families are fed. That's what's important to us right now. So I'm going to say, my vote, we don't need any more wilderness. What 61% that we do have, we've got one little job right now that we're cutting, and I think there is some more that's been marked for sale and stuff, and I'm glad to hear about that. But we need to put into practice the things that are in place right now as far as our timber cutting goes. So that's something we can work on instead of trying to designate more areas of wilderness. We don't need to, and y'all talk about partnership. I'm not trying to be rude. How many sawmillers and loggers have you contacted?
There's 3.
We got 3,
got
there is 7 at the last.
Okay, well, that's good.
Full
That's
companies,
good.
not
All right, well, that's good. I didn't know, I didn't hear anybody say any numbers, so.
But you're talking about 61%. That's just what the Forest Service.
Right. And
It comes to
39%.
72% when you count TVA,
Right,
and all these others,
So, I
the
mean,
tribe and all that.
right,
It's
so,
72%
right.
that you can't do nothing with.
Okay, I've got this to jump in. Anything else, William Wayne? I appreciate your comment.
No.
But there is one thing that I got to say in this before we finish up, and I know we're probably 3 minutes away, is that the whole aspect of this is, again, you know, if it's only one lot that's been open for your company to go and to harvest, then what's going to be the avenue for us to get it open? And this board right here can scream, can go dance naked on the mall up in Washington, D.C. And I don't know that there's going to be an impact unless we work it together.
Right.
Graham County on its own hasn't got enough squeak or bark. We don't have enough squeak or bark. We need to have it. And, you know, I came into this guns blazing, you know, with regard to this resolution. And there may be some things in this that I would entertain and changing. But, you know, the whole thing that you're saying is, no, don't go put any more in it. But, you know, in the conversation that I've heard tonight, this has already been done. 1984, it's already been done. With regard to what Congress sees in this, it's already in the study. And in that, if you're going to have any impact on that, then you have to have an avenue or a way to have what you're wanting to convey to them, they get it there. I can sit and write letters all day. We can do resolutions from this board all day. But if there is a group, you know, in the western end of the state, and you know, we need to really entertain that. We do need to have loggers from Graham County. I know there's some people that work really hard. I've got Walter Hooker cutting down the world next door to me up on Sweetwater. And, you know, I understand the need of that, but, you know, the issue of management, is, like you said, there are a lot of things that they just let go that they need to turn loose. They need to harvest the trees so that they can grow. And I mean, I don't know any more than that. My granddad used to burn leaves out from under the, you know, the growth under it so it could grow. Now, you've got it that deep and there's no water in the ground with leaves and junk. So, you know, everybody knows that. Everyone on this board knows that. But we need to entertain that. But I respect what he's saying. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to make one brief comment. There's another way of looking at it because, like you said, that to change wilderness designation, whether it's first forest study or in wilderness, that has to be passed by Congress.
Right.
But another way of stating it is no net loss of manageable land in the planning process. That's what we really, I don't think, what you're trying to say is you want more land in management or no net loss as a result of the planning effort that's starting now. And the last land management plan restricted a lot of land and made it very difficult to manage, and NEPA went wild and all that. But I think what all you're saying is that you don't want any net loss of land that's into management and put aside. So, you know, I don't know that it's kind of semantics as far as the wilderness part, but that's what I hear you guys say.
Okay. I hate to be rude, but we only got we're overtime. Yes, go ahead, David, and we'll recognize Brent, and we'll got to stop.
Yeah, and I'd like to say that in the collaborative, I'm on Forest Products, and there's 3 timber officials in the forester and the guy who owns the veneer mill. And so there's 3 of us, and then there's representatives from the Cherokee Indian tribe. And the meetings that we had, it looks like, and from the whole collaborative, that when this Forest Service plan is done, and if this collaborative, basically, if their ideas go through, we're going to be cutting more trees. There's going to be more logging for you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm all for that. Yeah. And I think we need, this collaborative is a good thing. I think just going to resolution, I don't see this is going to do anything, really. But working with this collaborative, having your county manager come, or this guy here, to our collaborative, and have a work together, and we're giving a good, solid plan to the Forest Service, and the Forest Service will look at that and then make a good plan. That's the way to go. And it looks like it's, you know, we're going to be cutting more trees, and I'm all for that.
Okay. You know where I'm sitting, so you're going to... Brent, close us.
I'll just add what Joe said, what David said, that I think what Joe said is getting more at what you really want to say. And what I would hope is that just give this thing a chance, and in another year, 2 years, 3 years, you pass another resolution that says, whereas Graham County supports the efforts of this partnership to harvesting more, larger amount of lumber off the timber on National Forest land, and whatever else That's a different kind of resolution, that's more geared towards the reality of the current situation. So, that's all I wanted to.
Okay, great. All right, thank you so very much for all the comment tonight. I'm sorry we just had the hour, but I think it's more we would have had in the regular session. There will be more conversation on this. This is an agenda item tonight. I'd like to ask for the approval of the board. We have a 5-minute break, and we will start promptly at 5:08.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion. Second.